Thank you for coming to this talk. I know this is a really tough slot to be choosing talks for, at least for me, because I voted for all the other 3 talks next to the slot. I'll just have to watch the recording. I'll just have to deal with that. That's fine. So, for those who have not read the synopsis of this talk, because you have to click on it and there's a popover and that's probably accessible, we'll see how it goes. This intro is just for a quick overview. For those who have no idea what this talk about, you just heard the title, it sounded clickbaity, you want to join. This will be your last chance to leave. And actually, I'll be kind of happier if that's the case, because less crowd is, less nerve-wracking. So first, I'll be sharing the approaches I would personally take to sabotage an internal product from the inside, so as a staff in the same company. And these are all going to be low-tech, no-code approaches, right? There's no hacking involved. So if you're after a security talk, this is not one. Off you go. Bye. See you. But why am I trying to sabotage an internal product? First of all, this is a thought experiment. I'm not doing this for real. This is just what if? And why not? Because, this is fun, right? Just like thinking about how things would go wrong is just something that I do, or something a lot of developers do, actually. But most importantly, I've personally observed so many great internal tools sort of fade into irrelevance over the last few years. And this is so sad for me as a developer, because often I'm using these tools to increase my productivity as an engineer or as a developer. So as soon as that automated data generation tool for the company sort of fades away or no one stops supporting it, or no one's adding to that API and I have to hand-roll one myself, that hits my productivity level. So of course, I want to avoid that. And when I ask why that's been happening, I've discovered multiple different ways that these products and the team behind them got sabotaged. Now, this is not just at my company or my client's company. I have friends across multiple companies, of course, as you all do, but I'm especially good friends with a lot of platform-type people. And so we share a lot of war stories around what's been happening at their company and their team, and just maybe their friends in their company. So I hope that this talk will help you spot the signs of sabotage or things that are slowing down the team that you're managing, if there happen to be a platform team. So, compulsory reminder, I was instructed to put this in. Please be reminded to complete your bingo. Sponsors are important to all events. I host events myself, I know. Please go visit their booth. Help them out here so that we have another DDD Melbourne next year, back and bigger. So yes, go collect your stamps, talk to the sponsors, drop your name in with a bingo. Right. First, I'm compelled to warn you that these are opinions, my opinions. I do not represent a company, a person, or any organization's stance. Because if I do, I wouldn't have framed the talk this way. I'll be like how to do a successful internal products and how to do it right and all that stuff. There's lots of talks like that. I'm not interested in that stuff. And next, don't do this at work. Actually, the whole point of this is I show you what could go wrong. Like most security talks, actually, what could go wrong, how could we sabotage so that you could spot the signs and avoid doing it yourself, or help your teams from sort of mitigating these problems. These are just things to watch out for. But if you have accidentally done some of these things, my contact details are below every slide. There's also a QR code at the end of this for my website. So, I would love to hear your stories or chat to me afterwards. And if I have the energy, I might go to the after party and we can chat there too. All good? All right, but first, I've alluded to why I like internal products. But let me define what it actually means in this talk, because your definition of internal products might be slightly different here. So for me, in this talk, internal products are usually often homemade products or built by your fellow developers for other developers within the same organization. They don't have to be sold externally as an API or as a data source or anything like that. They're just to service, to make your life as a developer in the company easier. That's how I'm defining it. Of course, there's multiple ways, but this is for this talk. And of course, in any successful established product, you will have a team behind that product. And those teams are usually an internal product team. Sometimes in this talk, I will shorten it to platform teams. The reason why I'm very big on internal products is it's a developer experience multiplier, right? My background is that I'm a front-end developer, and I have a very strong UX and accessibility lens. So I would harp on about, okay, please do this modal dialogue. Please don't implement button like a div. Please don't do X, Y, Z, right? And so, of course, being in the software industry for 10-something years, not very long, to be fair, but 10-something years, I have always tried to work out how do I make sure that my fellow engineers implement these useful, sensible defaults in a consistent way, and in a way that's easy, they don't have to think about it. And for front-end development, that's usually come via design systems. From a DevOps engineer perspective, usually that's a one-click environment builder, or that's an automatic data generator so that you can do load testing on your product in a consistent way throughout your company, right? So these tools are super useful here. As I moved away from my front-end development roots, I've started to enter the more developer advocacy type and I focus on what does it mean to do quality products. And again and again, after being this team, I've witnessed how the platform products are such huge force multipliers. It makes developers more efficient. It reduces the cognitive loads of the engineers sitting on these teams. They can focus on shipping features to a paying customer in an efficient manner, fast, and they can just focus on their product. They have to focus on, okay, how do I build up this pipeline in a way that's compliant to my company's unique security needs, with its single sign-on thing, with its perhaps like a security key rotation that's unique to us, right? You have to think about that. You can just go, yep, click on this product from past tool, deploy it, we're good to go. So these are force multipliers. And when developers get to focus on the problem that they get to work on, they're naturally happier. Actually, it results in real retention. Companies that have outdated technology, outdated tech stack, or they spend half their days trying to deal with DevOps stuff instead of actually coding, if that's majority of the company, they don't stay in those companies very long, because that's just so crushing, to be fair. Like, it's only certain type of people who like accessibility, only certain people who likes to deal with test data for load testing, right? You don't want that to be a responsibility for every single engineer. So that's where I'm at. But another keyword I have on this particular side is established product. Why am I not talking about new platform product in this talk? Think of it this way. New platform products are a bit like startups. Many things could go wrong, right? It might be started by one person, there hasn't been a formal team around it, there's not enough budget, or they maybe haven't achieved the product market fit with other engineers yet, they're just trialing this out with their team. So lots of things can go wrong with new businesses, new platform, new product, right? It needs some marketing, it needs some savvy conversation, needs an advocate within the company. Too many things could fail. It could fail, I don't need to talk about it, it could easily fail on its own, starting out, right? What we're gonna talk about here is something that has been around for maybe a year or two. There's a team running and maintaining this thing. There's high adoption. It's been helping people in the company. And this talk will focus on how can those success factors can be taken down, how can we make those teams less successful or less productive, and eventually less relevant to their company. So, of course, to sabotage anything, you need to understand your target audience, right? Your not target audience, the target that you're trying to sabotage. In this, because I'm a front-end developer, a lot of my example would be very much around design system, pattern library, or things like that. But if you're a data person, think about it in your terms, right? Like think about a product as you listen to this talk. Now, when you're researching, right, there's three things that I want you to look at. Like there's plans, the product offering, and the people behind this particular platform product. With plans, you, as someone who sabotages this thing, whether you're on the inside of the team or you're a team next to it, or you're a manager or whatever it is, I want to know, what's the plan for this product here? You have an established offering. What is next on your roadmap? How are you tying yourself to the company vision, mission statement, division, big initiatives that are coming up that are increasing shareholder value, whatever it is. Or maybe there's a new team member coming in, maybe the team's expanding. Whatever it is, I want to know what the plans around this platform product is. I will explain that in a second. Next, as I'm doing my research, I want to look at what the product, the state of the product offering of this particular platform product. I want to know what it does well and doesn't do well. Who's the main target audience and consumer of this particular tool or this product? Who's their most loyal customer partnering team? What are they saying about the product, that sentiment feeling, right? What's the popularity? How widespread is this? Maybe it's very well used in one division, but not another, or maybe it's just spattered across the whole company, or maybe every team is using it, it's just a starting point. Different platform in your head might tick different boxes in this research. You want to also find out who are the product design and engineering decision makers in these teams. Now, because these are often engineering-focused tools, you might not have designers involved. With the design system, yeah, sure, you have designer, right? But if it's a data or like a Slack bot automator, you wouldn't usually have a designer, but someone in that team will act as someone who designed the user experience of how, okay, how many buttons do I need to click, what's the drop down for that option of the data looks like, how do I lay it out, what context, or maybe what's the copy for the command line is going to be to help you quickly build that CLI, using that CLI tool to build something for your deployment pipeline. So you want to find out who are the product design and engineering decision makers is, because this is where we're going to, like we can also help us take us down. We also, different point. So how do you find this out? Well, in established platform teams, they usually write shitload of docs. They would probably have to do a lot of wrangling to publish their slides, the purpose of the team to the upper management. They'll probably be mentioned at town halls or company-wide initiative mapped against like, hey, here's a new initiative we're running and it's been enabled by the following tools. Thank you, team. So there'll be a lot of that kind of information around if the team's well established and is doing well. So you want to find out where they are, who's mentioning them and how. Next, we want to make sure that we know the people in there. Who is in that zoo? What are the characters in the team? What tick their boxes? Actually, what's the seniority level like in that team? Is it top-heavy? Is it mostly junior? Who's their key architects and leader in that group? Because those are the ones you want to be targeting specifically, and I'll tell you how later on. Now, how you would find this information if you don't already belong in that team? If you're in the office, you could apply some of these strategies. What I do is that I will sit in a high traffic area. Most of us are in the sort of activity-based desking format, right? That hot desking thing that we all hate. But for sabotaging or for information searching, this is super useful. You sit in a high traffic area, like close to the kitchen, close-ish to the entrance or the exit that people are using to get out to get their lunch, because that's where everyone passes. But the high traffic area you want to target are the areas where people have to pause to do something. That's why kitchen's perfect. Next to the water cooler, they're filling up their water bottle. Next to the coffee machine. Next to whatever it is they're waiting for their team lunch. Those are great because they're already in the mode where they're not actively working on something. They might be thinking about something. They might be talking to their colleagues. They might be ready for conversations. They're ready for you to interrupt. And you can ask them about, hey, what's going on in your team? How's it going? What do you care about? All that stuff. Not close to the bathroom, though. Right? You might know this, but when nature calls, no one wants you to stop them to ask about the roadmap of their product when you're trying to get to the bathroom, right? And no one also wants you to stop them when they're trying to leave the crime scene. So, don't sit next to the bathroom. That is not a useful spot to info gather. Now, if you're an online person, check the channels they participate in, right? These teams usually have a support channel, help design system, help data, help whatever. Go and stalk the characters in that channel. See who's responding the most, what kind of things they're responding to, right? Because again, we want to see what clicks and who's the main players in this team. So Slack channel stalking is fantastic. Watch out for mentions of their names. In perhaps document like Confluence and Google Docs, you have owners of those documents, so you know that the most active people in that team are usually the owners or the active contributors to those documents. You can stalk those information, especially when you're on the inside. It's easy. Of course, you can also do it socially, so you can do that by, like, if your company have like a donut or social channel or a camera channel or swap and exchange, go hang out there and, like, maybe you can stalk them through their org chart and go, oh, this person's talking about this camera all the time. Oh, they happen to be in this platform team they want to take down. Well, sorry, again, not recommending you do it. This is just a hypothetical situation. Yeah, we'll stalk through the org chart, see who their managers is, and then maybe have a chat with them afterwards. That's how you get information. Work both ways, online, offline. And while you're getting that information from the people side of things, you want to be grooming who and what can you influence. If you're in a leadership position, you might be able to influence the roadmap. Or you might be a team asking for things from this team. Shout the loudest to influence their roadmap. There are multiple strategies at the leadership level, right? You could knock that down. But as a fellow engineers or individual contributor at a similar level, you could then ask, hey, who's your friend? Who's the person who's wanting to contact you? Who gets you information? Again, there are multiple ways to use this connection to take the product team down, and I'll go into that later on. So we've collected all this information, right? We'll use these research, the 3 Ps, to target the product itself and then the teams behind it. Now, let's talk about the product itself, right? What are the ways we could do that? Before we can even work out how to take it down or work out which method and approaches kind of works best for a team or effective platform teams, you want to understand, what does great platform team look like? Why are they so great? Why are they so popular? Why is everyone using them or either hating them or talking about them? Again, popularity can be negative and positive. We want to know why they're so viral within your company, right? Most of them share these common characteristics. These great products itself would solve a specific need. It might solve 2 or 3 needs, but it solves a specific need really well and reduces that cognitive load of an engineer effectively. So the engineer doesn't have to ever think about AWS key rotation ever again manually, because this tool just does it for you in the company way. It helps you as an engineer be compliant to certain things: security, accessibility, GDPR, whatever it is that helps you remove from that admin or other aspects of actually coding your .NET or JavaScript code. And also, it's easy to spin up, easy to use, very clear. It's usually well marketed too. So top management are talking about them. They may be very good at telling stories about their releases in the public town hall. They might be great communicators, have a template to post updates on the Slack channel, the Teams channel. They have just good at marketing themselves. Some of them might even have their own visual branding, right? Like a Salesforce design system have its own name, or Flutter or whatever it is that was built from internal first, have its own branding, logo, and their slides when they're presenting their work would usually have those kind of branding. It's a very well marketed and branded product. It also has top-notch documentation. I mean, who have seen a design system that's well used that does not have documentation? Right? I mean, design system documentation, example of that would be we're full of screenshots, code samples, links to video, rationale, examples of how people implement in real life, theories behind it. Like even a new grad who's never been in a software company before, who's never worked for real, can get up and running with, example, their front-end code within 2 or 3 minutes because there's already this one-click boiler or 1, 2, 3 command line thing that helps them build that really quickly. So knowing this helps us understand what a great target looks like. Now we can look at ways to take them down. First method, cut the damn funding, right? This is capitalism, people. Money funds people behind it. People funds the resources in which these teams use to run these services. If there is no money, there is no additional work. So if, let's say, you're doing this evil thing, it is evil, cut the whole team, you cut the headcount, you either fire them or redeploy them elsewhere, however method it is, but you're cutting the funding to fund the running of this team. The goal to cut the funding is to demoralize the team and cut off official resources and support so that when someone needs help, there's no longer an official help to come and help you solve problems when you're trying to run or use this product. So some of these products might limp along for a bit, right? Because they're so well used, they might just continue to be used because there's some well-intended engineer who their heart's still involved and they want to contribute. And so by themselves, there'll be this hero engineer who upholds this thing that no one uses, spending their time. But that's okay, because that's just one or two people contributing. You don't have to care about it anymore. They'll eventually die when these people leave, or when these people leave the company. So, but of course, the problem with this method, cut funding completely, you won't have many friends, and it's really obvious you're trying to ruin it. So you I want to avoid this, because whatever you do, you're doing this from the inside. So you don't want people to know that you're sabotaging them, if you know what I mean. So the next level from that is you can reduce the headcount. And the goal for this is less people equals less capacity. Chances are these well-run platform teams already have their own existing ceremonies to run with the size they have, or to service the level of support they're providing, or write these docs, or do these scaffolding, like these more like really important glue work around this thing, right? If you cut their capabilities, if you cut their capacity, they don't have the brain space or the accountability with their teammates to do things properly, and therefore reduces the quality of the code and the service in the long run. So reducing headcount is an effective way. You can do that easily as well. If someone leaves, just don't argue for a new headcount, a new hire or new promotion. You can reduce headcount officially or unofficially, and you could do it like this. Next, reduce the spending budget, right? So even if you can't cut people because you care about the people, you can cut the budget itself. Let's say this service helps you spin up an AWS thing for your company in a very specific, unique way. Of course, AWS gets really expensive. And so what if you just reduce that budget by 20%? So, okay, your licensing is already operating at about 85%, which means 5% of the company will not be able to use this service if they want to. And so, yes, it will reduce the incentive for people to try to get the service from you, or your number of servers might be reduced, so you can't run your servers as efficiently as it used to be. When it's slow, it hits developer productivity, and therefore they do not care about it as much anymore. So these are how you would deal with the funding issue. But not everyone can do this, right? You have to have the budget, the budget holding power. And so if you can't do that, and you're just a people lead of the team or the engineering manager of the immediate team, you could make it less of a priority, right? So like, okay, head count, but then out of all the expenses we have to do, it kind of sits on priority 6. And just like any backlog, if it's not on the current sprint, or if it's not the top 3, it usually doesn't get done. Right, next way, make your new motto, move fast and break things. Because we are a product team who's innovative, and we do things fast, and we're real efficient. The goal for this is to make your platform product that serves so many customers and in your company feels less reliable to other engineers. Because again, we value speed, we just reduce speed. We're now attacking the reliability layer. So those breaking changes you have, man, go and do things. Rename your utility functions. It'll be fun, right? Make frequent compulsory upgrade, right? If your design system used to have like an alpha or beta testing before you release a new feature or an update because you want to be real careful with your customers, those take a lot of time, a lot of resources, a lot of engineers. Just don't do them, right? Who cares about that? We'll just, we'll stick to the Scream test where we release things to prod, and then if someone have a problem, they'll let us know in the Slack channel, right? Engineers use platform product to buy time and brain space. This way, we're actually increasing the loads because it creates the trust issue. If they no longer trust that your product is reliable, they'll spend that extra second or 4 days to work out whether they want to update your product or not, if they have a choice. Or if they don't have a choice, the next project they spin up, that might give them that pause of whether they do want to use your product or not. So yes, good example. So people who can do this, team members inside, the product manager, right? Like lots of options here from the inside. Now next, we want to make it less sexy and less collaborative. Now a good platform team, a good platform product, once it's been established enough, the only way it gets real feedback or incremental improvement is to sometimes accept pull requests from other people, is to get the heart and mind, get people to like it, feel emotionally invested in this platform tool that, oh, this tool has saved me time. So of course, as a citizen, as a nice person, I want to help contribute to the team, or I spot an error, a bug, I want to help you out here, right? So a lot of the good platform teams has garnered this cult or collaborative culture. We want to destroy that. We want to make it less sexy and less collaborative, right? And we can do that by reducing the physical attraction and the emotional attraction. The physical attraction comes in this way. You can actually just go and delete existing document, but again, too obvious. You can start small. You could start with, when you release new features, just drop the level of the documentation release against that doc, right? And again, follow the same method. Don't announce it, just quietly release those things. Reduce the quality of your release log. So you release it, here's a version number, here's 4 bullet points, be done with it, right? Finish with that. You could also reduce the UX of documentation by perhaps changing the site in which the documentation lives on. Or maybe or maybe you decided, oh, this particular tool that you're using to publish the documentation for people no longer satisfied the needs of our team. Let's change it from a pure README thing to another website thing. Or that would take another 4 or 5 months, but now we breakages with links, but that's okay. No, it's still legitimate work. You're still doing documentation. You're just slowing that service layer down, being a bit more careful about how you release and publish those docs. Now, the team can do this, right? Now, unfortunately, the pull request, they won't accept your new README documentation tool. But you want to also make the contribution to your code base or approach hard, right? Add processes, workflow. Before maybe someone would write a message on your channel, go, hey, I need help with this. I noticed you're missing this feature. Here's a pull request. And usually you'll be like, cool, let's book a meeting, let's pair program it, and then be done with it, and let's release it, right? This time we'll be like, sorry, our team's really busy, so we don't have time to look at your pull requests that you spent 3 hours doing last Friday to help our team out. So what we're going to do is that you're going to have to follow this 50 steps release process to validate your changes and to wait for our team to be ready to get back to you in 3 months' time. Now, when you do it like that, then people just don't want to contribute, right? What's going to happen is they're going to fork your project and they're going to quietly just make their changes and don't npm install your latest updates because they no longer either trust that you'll add their changes or they just, they solve their own problems. It's great. So that's how you reduce the physical attraction to your platform product. The next way is to reduce the emotional attraction. And that's where the mandate layer comes in, right? So the beauty of mandating a tool or an approach is that us engineers, what do we control really in our daily lives? Control sometimes our hours, sometimes how we might design certain things, but not often. When we release products, no, that's out of our control too. And so, of course, we would naturally want to be debating and owning the ownership of the technical decisions. Well, what are platform products but a technical decision? And so if a company go, so I know that you're on .NET version from 5 years ago or something, not .NET Core. And I know you probably can't use the latest Next.js design system that we want you to use, but you're going to do it because it's now a requirement for you to release. It would be great. It will make sure that our company is consistent, the board, and you'll be aligned and all that stuff. What do you think is going to happen with the engineers consuming or trying to consume that Next.js pattern library? Yeah? Anger, right? So they're no longer opting in to emotionally to go, oh, we chose this tool, so we're now emotionally invested. You shift that to, we're being told to adopt this tool, and therefore, we'll grudgingly drop everything on our roadmap to do it, right? The tone is different. So you want to slowly shift that tone, make it less emotionally investing. Another interesting fact that I've also known is that in Volunteers, there's a study here that volunteers are actually less satisfied if they started getting paid for the same job that they volunteered to do, like picking up trash on the street. And this is the same logic here, right? So unplanned work, that sort of thing. So who can do this mandate? That's usually leadership layer. So something that not all of us can contribute to. We want to stop comms, right? We want to make sure that you do zero promotion, zero comms, zero branding. The goal of this is to make people slowly forget about you. So, right? And of course, if new people onboarding to your company doesn't know or haven't heard about your product in town halls, they would not think to pick it up when they have to build a new project, unless they have a long-time old person like me in their team who say, you actually should use this. Right? But otherwise, we want to slowly fade this into irrelevance. If you can't remove the promotion completely because you still have a decent product manager or a promoter in your team, then you could do ways to insidiously remove or reduce the effectiveness of it, right? You could rename the team, because if your team perhaps was called Design System A and you suddenly called Razor Sharp System, who's going to search for that in your Confluence pages when they have problems, right? They're not. So things like renaming it, using other names, stop using that kick-ass visual branding you've been using to make your product success. Use a company one, right? You want to be compliant to the company requirements. You want to look like from the same company. And therefore, you should stop breaking the company's rule and use what the company is actually telling you to use. Don't use your own branding. That's not useful. The beauty of this is, again, anyone can do. If I'm from outside the team and I want to talk about the team, I just don't use their slide format. It's great. You want to strive for irrelevance, right? Because when you're not relevant to the context in which your consumers are consuming your product, you will not be in their mind, because you're no longer the right choice for them in the first place. So don't talk to customers, and if you do, talk to all the wrong ones. Talk to all the unhappiest one possible, who no matter what you do, will hate your product or have a very unique use case that no one else has. So you solve their problem and you don't solve anyone else's problem. Or you go for the customers who never complain. They always say, yay, go, and never review your code properly. They just consume it and be done with it, right? These are great because they never give you useful feedback. And so you either don't talk to customers or do, but talk to the wrong ones. And of course, like mentioned before, do lots of dependency updates and do it real often. Because when you do, teams consuming your product will now have to constantly be making decisions. Holy crap, this platform product makes an update once every 3 weeks, or even once every week at this point. We're on a critical deadline in 2 weeks. How are we going to have time to make sure that this thing doesn't break and with updates accordingly? Of course not. They're going to leave it to we'll update again in 6 months' time. And again, they'll end up forking your product and then sticking to the fork. You want to still continue building, but perhaps let the ICs or the engineers in that team work on things that are not top of customers' mind. Like I mentioned, those things that the loud, long-time customers with unique use cases have been asking for forever, just solve their problem, right? You're still doing valuable work. You're still solving someone's problem, but you're not solving the most valuable problem across the company. Again, making you less relevant to more people. You can do compliance work only. Right? Let's say there was a big thing, an open banking initiative, or a new API structure, a data thing you have to do, accessibility mandate you have to come through. Spend all your time and your team's resources on those things. Are they important? Yes. Are they required? Yeah. But again, your customers doesn't care that you spent the last 5 months working on a security update. Really, they don't, even though it's important. So do important work, but do the irrelevant work to your customers. Remove product and design functions from your team. So again, you already found out who is the one who does a producty type thing, fight for your roadmap in your team, who's the people who does more design and user experience stuff in your team. Yeah, either stop them from doing those work or remove them completely. Right? These roles in product land are often considered the growth roles. If your product is no longer growing, then you don't need a designer to design new things, right? You don't need that. Product, well, if the products, you're no longer adding new components to your design system because you become so mature, you covered all the scenarios of your company, then it's just maintenance work, and engineers can manage our own maintenance work, right? We don't really need product person. The act of removing a product person from this team would automatically remove and reduce the ability for this team to plan and defend their own roadmap. This is going to be important next, right? But the thing is that when you don't have a product person, usually this is the type of person who can sell the vision of the team of how like we could solve this problem for your company, and we can do all sorts of creative ways to get to that vision. It's sold that vision to your team and outside your team. When that person is gone, we're just doing maintenance work endlessly with no rewards and no success metrics whatsoever, unless your engineer really likes metrics, right? That's rare. So that's why you want to reduce product managers. And you want to reduce designers, because when you release new features and you have lost the person who used to always say, does that copy make sense to other engineers in the command line? Like, does people know what this term means when you say, do you want to do this, yes or no? Right? Questions from those copy, and if there's no documentation because we've stopped them, how are they gonna inherently understand what this user experience is driving you to do in order to create or use this tool that you're making for the company? So user experience is not just visual design, people. It's a whole experience, how you interact with this product. Remove the person who cares about this, and you remove your ability to stay relevant and increase engagement or make things more efficient. So at this point, you've cut funding. You have started moving fast and break things like what lots of companies want you to do. You make the product platform itself less sexy and less attractive, less collaborative. You stop all the comms so that people know you less. You also try to make the product itself less relevant to the rest of the engineers in the company. And you remove product and design functions so that there's no roadmap and no customer improvement. We're doing great here with the product itself. Now let's target the people inside the team. So the making of a great platform people, right? So each platform team would have one or two or many characteristics of these people. Again, it might not be everyone in the team because you have different seniority level, different experience, but chances are, collectively as a whole team, you'll have at least half these characters. You have helpful, collaborative people. You have great communicators at speaking and writing, right? You have natural mentor, because they can help teams implement their stuff. You have curious, proactive humans, empathetic system thinkers. They've probably been in the company for a long time, so they're quite well connected. They know what's going on, know what's important in the company, know what roadmap. They know about org-wide initiatives, so they organize initiatives aware about what's going on so that they can go, oh, well, the company wants to do that initiative. Our platform thing could help unlock that, and so they're going to be proactively pushing that into their roadmap. They also have opinions, right? Whether it's right or wrong, let's be clear here, they do have opinions. But because they have opinions, they can bake that into the offering that they have. People can choose to reject or accept it, but it's much better than having no opinions at all, especially with platform teams. They also have a strong UX and product mindset. They want to help people, service people. So often, these are well-known names in your company. If you think of a platform team, I'm sure you can think of multiple names in the top of your head. What you want to do is you want to lean hard on their personal branding. Let's say this person was the one who created this one-click useful tool that everyone uses, right? And even though you put a team around it, you continue to let them be the only one who talks about this product. You let them be the only one who presented at town hall. You've associated their personal branding, good engineer, to this product. So if they're on leave for 5 weeks, no one knows who your team is. They don't know how to contact you. It's great. Keep them busy, right? These are helpful, distractible people. They want to be helpful, they want to understand the context, they want to assist them. If you ask them about a problem, be real vague, because they'll do one of two things. So either send more people from their team to understand what your problem is, or they'll go and spend more time working out what your problem is before coming to you or trying to be helpful, at the risk of improving their own product or roadmap. Right? And so you do this by filling their calendars. Invite them to meetings, team stand-up, whatever it is that your team is doing, do it. And be a needy customer. Don't message their help Slack channel that sends everything to their team. message the individuals in that team. Better, message the superstars that I mentioned, the key players in those teams, because you only know them, right? You also want to deploy them as a specialist subject matter expert. Example, you have design system team. You have a whole bunch of front-end developers who are really good at doing things at scale, right? They're really useful for new, I don't know, branding project, or you acquired a new product and you wanted to help them change the front end to be more like your company. That new acquisition doesn't have enough front-end resources to know about your system. That's design system team has this skill set. They're on maintenance mode. We can send these resources, stop maintaining for a bit, and go and work on this project for about 6 months, and we'll see how it goes from there. Again, maintenance stopped, right? Promote and sponsor them. Now, this is a lot less evil, because engineers inside that will thank you. As you see, there's a lot of amazing characteristics in these platform engineers, right? Lots of engineers have this, but collectively, you like to have more superstars in this thing. So they're easy. Most of the time, they're quite easy to promote. When you promote someone, you want to make sure you promote them with 2 criteria. One, promote them to a new role level, so they have to spend a lot of time onboarding to that new role and the nature and the organizational politics and the meetings they have to be in. And 2, you want to make sure that there is no backfill. Your team is either top heavy or junior heavy, and you don't have an equivalent person with the kind of knowledge this person has to help your team continue working. So, you're doing good for your engineers, but not doing great for the team. If that fails, you performance manage them out. Now, this is evil. Don't do this, right? But this is possible because why? Lots of platform engineers do a lot of glue work. A good platform engineer, half the time spent on glue work. And glue work is often not factored into the performance management framework that your company has a recommendation. It is very hard to argue promotion of someone who do a lot of glue work. That's majority of this team. And so they can all be underperforming and underpaid, and therefore don't really want to stay in this company anymore. At this point, there's no one to stop you, right? You have tied the image to a key superstar product person, and then you made them real busy, and you spend them as key resources outside of the team so that the product's not being maintained itself. You promote and sponsor them because it's great for their career, but shit for the team. You can also alternatively performance manage them out if you don't like them. Anyone can do any of this. No one can actually be trusted. As an IC, right, I have personally forgot to announce releases when I release my platform thing, right? Sometimes I didn't advocate enough for my designer friends onto a certain project or platform project that needs an actual UX designer eye. Sometimes I have sponsored great people because I know they're good, I know their career vision and stuff, and I sponsored them and didn't really look at what state they're going to leave their team in because they're so great. I'm helping them. I also know some platform managers who don't fight to keep that head count because they're perhaps new to the company or they know it's a losing battle for whatever reason in their area. I know managers or product managers who are new to the company, so they don't know how to advocate or fight for their roadmap at that knife-fighting C-level or whatever level that would help make sure that your product stay visible at that level. Sometimes they're just under the pump, managing up or managing the team. They don't keep track of their trends. And so my advice here is stay vigilant, right? Because anyone can accidentally sabotage a platform team or product or a team in general. I want the platform products that are good to continue being good, to continue helping my life as a developer, so I don't have to think about the details of AWS. Right? I want you to go back to work on Monday and look around you and reflect. If you're in a platform team, has something sticky been going on? And use maybe some of these and work out whether any of these are happening to some key members in your team, and how can you either lessen or help that transition be smoother. I'm here to encourage you to find ways to protect your platform team at your company. But if you failed, here's a QR code, and drop me a line. I'm everywhere, and I would love to know your stories, and I can be confidential if you tell me to be. Thank you, DDD, and sponsors of DDD for sponsoring this event.